Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with Hobbies of the Man once again, and today we are doing our monthly reading log. So today I'm going to go over everything that I've read in the month of July. For transparency's sake, today is the 29th, and technically I still have 2 more days to read, but I don't really think I'll finish anything by the time that I upload this on the 31st, so it'll be fine. If I do, I'll put it down in the description. Sorry, not in the description, in the comments. Now, you guys probably don't really care about the technical aspects of when I do my videos and stuff like that. But, I mean, given that I actually watch these videos for myself afterwards to kind of look back on stuff, I do want to kind of to log it. There you go. That's the right word. Chronicle it, I guess, was what I was going for, but I'm not really sure. But anyways, so we're going to start from July 1st, and we're going to go up to today, but I haven't actually read anything in about a week. I haven't really had time because I was, I had to go up to my apartment that's right in front of my university because I'm switching apartments to somewhere else with my roommates. So I had to go clean my apartment. That took about 3 days. To drive back, I had to drive there. That's another 2 days. And then I haven't really felt like doing anything since I came back. So I haven't really read anything. I've basically just sat in front of my computer all day and watched YouTube. But yeah, so let's get into it. The first thing I read was Gundam Thunderbolts, Volume 1. Now, I've already made a video where I mostly talk about all of these. It's a monthly check-in, which is up there, and which I probably will kind of restructure in a different way. I'm not exactly sure, but I do want to do something slightly different with that one, because I won't have as many books that I've finished reading once I start back at school, right? So we'll see. But Gundam Thunderbolts was the first thing I read. Pretty good. I really like the art and the mechanical design of the robots. It was very good. I want to continue to read it. However, it's kind of an expensive book. It's $15 for a regular Viz signature. Most of them I think are like 13. So it's a little bit expensive for my taste. But it is good, and I really like all of these Gundam that they show in the back with that are colored. I think it's very cool, and I really like the color pages that they have here as well. Some of them are very, very nice. And yeah, not much to say here. I only read the first volume. I want to get more before I actually make a review, but I will probably get a first impressions review out of this sometime in August. So yeah. Then I read volumes 1 and 2 of Fire Force, which you guys can see right there. I actually just did my review on it, so you can watch it right there or up there, wherever the stupid card is. And yeah, Fire Force is good. It's by the creator of Soul Eater, and I actually really like it. I think the creator of Soul Eater's art and ability to write stories increased dramatically between the end of Soul Eater and the beginning of Fire Force. I think that they had to do something in between those two, but I'm not really sure what they did because you don't really get access to all that sort of stuff here very often. But yeah, very good. I really did enjoy it. My favorite part is actually that the power system is all based around fire and heat. But it is very unique. Every person has a different power, so it's very cool. Okay, and then on July 2nd, the first thing I read was Eden Zero, volumes 7 through 9, which you guys can see right there. 7, 8, and 9, and I'll just hold this one since it's my favorite. And again, Eden Zero is great. It's by Hiro Mashima, the creator of Fairy Tail and Rave Master. I haven't actually read Rave Master, but I love Fairy Tail, the anime, and I am collecting it, as you guys can see right there, in the box sets. And Eden Zero is wonderful. It's very good. It's in space. It has all of the usual Hiro Mashima isms. It has a lot of fan service. It has a lot of moments of like heart-wrenching kind of like feelings. And it has this kind of emphasis on friendship and love and how you care about others. But it also has a lot of darker elements that maybe weren't so common in Fairy Tail. So it's very good. I really do enjoy it. I like it a lot. I'm up to volume 11 right now, and I'm loving it. There's this kind of like new time travel / multiverse kind of thing going on in it. And it's very interesting. I'm actually very excited to see how that ends up affecting the story. But generally, I think it's very good. I like it a lot. The art is wonderful. There you go. That's not really that great of a bit of art to show you, but it takes a long time to find good art pieces when you're looking for them like that. But there you go. That's Draken Joe. He's a bad guy right now, and he's super badass. And yeah, that's the second time I read through those volumes, and I'm very happy that I did. Then I read Dreaming Sun Volumes 1 and 2. I also just did a review for these. There you go. That's Volume 1, and that's Volume 2. And I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on this. I think I scored it a 3 out of 5. Mostly because the first volume was boring on the reread, not so much the first time I read it. But also because I really don't like how shoujo romances don't really take the time to develop the romance. Like this one specifically, by the end of the first volume, our main character Komeko is already in love with this guy that she's only interacted with for like a day. And that's where all of the romance drama comes from. But everything else about it is very good. I like the mystery of this guy right here, and I like the connection that he has with Komeko, and I like the way that Komeko is kind of realizing her place in life and understanding herself and others and stuff like that. I really like everything except that kind of like very quick romantic attachment that develops between characters. But I don't like that in any kind of romance stories, so it's not really just because it's shoujo or anything. It's mostly just because I don't like those very quick, kind of inconsequential crush turned love kind of things that happen in less than a day, story-wise. I think it's very boring, right? But generally, I liked it. It's good. It's enjoyable. Definitely recommend it if you like Orange, because it's by the same author, but I haven't actually read Orange, so I'm not recommending it based on like my knowledge of the story, just because it's by the same author. And yeah, next, let's see, what did I read? Okay, then I went on my trip to Mexico, and I started reading volumes 10 and 11 of Eden Zero. There you go, that's number 10. And 11, this is, I think, my second favorite cover, mostly because I like all of the four shining stars in their battle dress, and also because it's purple, and I really like purple. It's a very cool color. But yeah, so these kind of continue the Draken Joe arc, or the Belial Gore arc, and it's very good. It's very enjoyable. Like I said, it has this kind of idea of time travel, or kind of something multi-dimensional, multi-universal kind of thing, and I like it a lot. It's very good. The action, the art, everything is good. It's the same thing that I said earlier, but it's just really enjoyable. And I think I read one of these over the course, one of each over the course of a couple of days, because in Mexico I didn't really have that much time to read during the first couple of days. So yeah. And then I read the Jaya arc of One Piece. It's the first half of the Sky Island arc, or the Sky Island saga, sorry. And I thought it was good. It was kind of enjoyable. I like the world building aspects. And after listening to the what's called the One Piece Virgin podcast, I actually kind of got a little bit more enjoyment out of this arc, because I originally thought it was a little bit boring. But after listening to the arc, or to the Virgin podcast, to the One Piece Virgin podcast, and kind of realizing that, you know, it has a lot of interesting things in it, I kind of maybe not changed my tune, because I still think it was a little bit boring, but I think I appreciate this arc a lot more, because there's a lot of things that happen that I wasn't like aware of, because I hadn't read this before, so it's kind of interesting. But I'll give you my full thoughts on it in a review later on. So yeah, then I read Reign of the Seven Spellblades once I was finally at my grandma's house and had a lot of time to read. And yeah, Reign of the Seven Spellblades Volume 2. This is essentially Japanese Harry Potter with swords and cute anime girls. There's really not much else to say about it like that. Like, that's a very kind of basic and very not comprehensive way of selling the story. But I think it's the way to sell the story that is the easiest to comprehend for people that are looking to get into it. It's basically about this guy in a magic school, and there's this kind of subplot of revenge that we don't really know about until like near the end of the first volume. And then there's very good stuff. It's very enjoyable. Although what I said sounds like spoilers, it's not really spoilers, because it's just not. It doesn't really work like that. The way the story develops is a lot different than you would expect. But generally, it's a very kind of Harry Potter-esque kind of story with this kind of odd Japanese humor, and of course, this kind of slightly more perverse magic, this darker magic, this kind of system that kind of is a lot darker than what we see in Harry Potter, because in Harry Potter, most of the magic was pretty wondrous, and it was about making magic feel amazing and cool, right? And even Voldemort wasn't really like that much of a scary bad guy until near the end of the story. So it's kind of interesting. This kind of does start dark early on very quickly. So yeah, then I read Captain Harlock volumes 1 and 2. Let me see if I can pull them out of the pile. Okay, then I read Captain Harlock 1 and 2. I haven't done a review on Captain Harlock just yet, if I remember correctly. But generally, I think Captain Harlock is pretty good. I also read Captain Harlock volume 3 a few days after, so there you go. And yeah, let me put it down. Let me see which one do I want. Okay, this one. Okay, so Captain Harlock is a kind of space opera story. It's by Leiji Matsumoto, the guy that did Space Battleship Yamato, which you guys can see up there. And it has this kind of very similar vibe to Space Battleship Yamato, but this one's a little bit more slow-paced. It kind of develops itself a little bit more. We kind of see humanity, or at least this very small faction of humans that are kind of over the fact that the current humans that are on Earth are kind of complacent and aren't seeing the threat of alien life that is around them. And so we get to see Captain Harlock, the leader of this crew of space pirates, kind of have to deal with these aliens by themselves, and we kind of get this exploration of what it means to be human, what it means to exist as an individual, what it means to be face to face with your creator, what it means to face death, and then a lot of these kind of poetic kind of ideas about what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman, and how you're supposed to act in a very kind of old school way, which I think most modern people would kind of disagree with, but I thought that was kind of interesting as a kind of idea, not necessarily as something to do in real life. But I thought it was good. It was enjoyable. It wasn't my favorite by any means. I think that a lot of these classic stories are never going to be anyone's favorites. Like, there have to be a very specific reason or some sort of nostalgia that is involved in it to be your favorite, because there's really way better examples of the same type of story, you know, done later with a lot of more practice and a lot of different like developments in the artistry of it, that just outcompete and beat out the classic series that inspired all of the other ones. So yeah, I mean, Captain Harlock is good, but there's probably definitely better or more interesting space opera that I can read that are in the same vein as Captain Harlock. But I personally like them, and I'm going to keep them because it's a very kind of classic and also very kind of meaningful in the terms of manga history. So that's why I like them. But yeah, then I read part 1 of Dr. Stone, which is Ishigami Village arc, which was really good. I really like Dr. Stone. In fact, I think Dr. Stone wouldn't be as good for me if it wasn't for Boichi's artwork. I think Boichi's artwork really elevates the story to a whole different level. It makes everything that's happening so much more impactful, so much more interesting, because the story itself isn't like the most complex. I think it's very interesting and I like it a lot. And in fact, since Minecraft is one of my favorite video games, or one of the few that I ever play, this kind of Minecraft-esque achievement system of like the way as Senku and the people of the Stone World kind of deal with things is very interesting and very fun to me. I like it a lot. It reminds me of playing SevTech, which is a mod pack for Minecraft. But if it wasn't for Boichi's artwork, I don't think I would really enjoy it as much as I do. But overall, it's very good. I do like it a lot. So yeah. Then I read on July 10th, One Piece Skypiea, the Skypiea arc, which was really interesting. Like, I don't think it was my favorite. I think out of all of the different villains so far, NL is kind of like the weakest one, if that makes sense. Because I'm not really sure what his kind of ideological difference from Luffy is exactly. Like, I don't want to talk about it too much because I want to talk about it in my review, but generally I think that usually the big bads of the sagas in One Piece kind of define something for Luffy, or kind of contrast Luffy in a certain way in order to kind of provide you with the exploration of Luffy's character, but also to provide you with an ideological necessity that is necessary in order to go into the Grand Line and kind of explore and continue to live out this life as a pirate. And I'm not really sure what Enel is supposed to represent. Like, Arlong was obviously this idea that Luffy cares about his friends, where Arlong does not care about his crew. And of course, it's this idea that you're stronger together, and that you need people around you that are meaningful and trust you in order to get into the Grand Line. And then Crocodile is about order versus chaos. Luffy is chaotic and free, and Crocodile is all about order and rigidity. But it also is kind of like this idea that you need to be good at using your devil fruit in order to succeed as a pirate in the Grand Line. And then all of the other bad guys, except for Wapol, were actually all kind of useful in that sense. Like, Boogie was supposed to be about what it takes to fight someone with a devil fruit. Don Krieg was about grit and determination against weaponry and like just preparedness. And then Mihawk was about developing Zoro's character. And, you know, there's a lot of these things, and I'm not really sure what Enel is supposed to represent. So that's kind of why I'm not really sure about Skypiea. I think in terms of world building and developing the world of One Piece, Skypiea succeeds and is very good. But in terms of like the narrative structure of what Enel represents compared to Luffy, I'm not too sure on just yet. So I have to think about it a little bit more before I do my review, because I don't want to just be like, yeah, I didn't get it. You know, it's just so weak. But yeah, then I read Solo Leveling Volume 2 on July 12th, which was my birthday. And yeah, I really like this. I think Solo Leveling is a very good story. It has this kind of different feel to it than most light novels, mostly because it's not made by a Japanese person, but rather a Korean person. Sorry. And it actually has this kind of idea, or this kind of style to it. There's a little bit more serious, more in line with a Western kind of novel, where it takes itself a little bit more seriously, instead of this very kind of over-the-top satirical comedic element that is very prevalent in light novels of the Japanese versions, right? Or of the Japanese style. So it's kind of interesting. I like it because it's familiar and unfamiliar, but also familiar in a different way as well. So I like it a lot. It's very good. And this one kind of starts to develop the world a lot and kind of show you what is coming next, and this kind of idea that there's, you know, more to this than just leveling Jinwoo. So it's very cool. I'm very excited to read Volume 3. Then I read Vinland Saga, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. Or, there you go. Let's see. 1, 2, and 3. This is my favorite cover of the 3 so far. Although I really like this gray. I think it's very cool. But yeah, Vinland Saga is very good. It's very interesting. It's about Vikings. And it kind of is near the end of the Viking era, with the development of the Danelaw, and kind of the Danelaw being in this kind of unsure spot where a lot of the English and Normans want to fight it off and kind of destroy the Vikings, but the Vikings still have the ability to fight back and maybe are going to take over England, which is what they eventually did, if I remember correctly. And then we have this idea of like religious people, like some Vikings, or most Vikings actually, have started to adopt Christianity instead of staying with the old gods. And so there's this kind of strife. But it also follows this kid, Thorfinn, as he goes through this cycle of revenge. His father was killed by another man, and Thorfinn joins the crew of this man in order to learn to fight and eventually kill him in order to avenge his father. And we get this whole idea that maybe, you know, Thorfinn's problems are not as big as they seem, and there's more going on in the world and stuff like that. And I really like it. It's very much in line with things like Vikings or The Last Kingdom, both of them very good TV shows that I love a lot. So I had to pick up Vinland Saga, and I really do like it a lot, actually. So yeah, I wasn't convinced by the first volume. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. The first volume was good, really enjoyable, but I wasn't really sure where it was going because it was like the prologue essentially. But once it kind of actually kicked into like what is going on Thorfinn properly, or like at the time that he's narrating this. I liked it a lot. Canute, Ragnar, Askeladd, and Thorkel are very, very good characters. So I'm really looking forward to reading more of that. So yeah. Then I read Helsing, Deluxe Edition Volume 1, which is a giant bastard of a book. It's huge, and it's so heavy, but I like it. But yeah, I don't know. I read it. It's about vampires, and it's about vampires fighting vampires. And there's kind of this whole kind of political idea there, and then this basically ends up being English vampires fighting Nazi zombie people or something like that. And generally, I think it's okay. I like it, and the art is very good, but I think that at the time of reading this, I wasn't really looking to read it for the sake of enjoyment, but rather for the sake of finishing it. And that kind of hurt my enjoyment of it a bit, which kind of sucks. But generally, I think it's enjoyable. And I think I just wasn't prepared for the fact that it was going to turn into this kind of larger, more political type of story. It's not really political, but there has to be like a bad guy that makes sense. And so they were like, oh, well, let's just talk about Nazis because that's kind of sensical. Everyone hates Nazis. And I don't know why. In the kind of modern era, it's very kind of like usual for Nazis to go hunt these kind of like magical things in order to defeat everyone else. And in this case, they kind of did this thing where they created vampires in order to beat people, but I don't know. I don't really get it, but it's very interesting, and I can't wait to pick up more and then reread it completely from the very beginning. So hopefully I can kind of enjoy it more the second time around, or what would be kind of the third time around for the first volume. So yeah, there you go. That's Helsing. Then I read Rent a Girlfriend, volumes 1 and 2. Very good story. Rent a Girlfriend is very interesting. I wouldn't say that Kazuya, the main character right there, is relatable. I don't think I'm that self-serving and kind of, self-absorbed as he is. But I'm sure someone thinks that about me. But I don't know. It's very interesting. It has this kind of idea to it that is very melodramatic and very over the top and kind of crazy and very romantically oriented in this kind of like unhealthy romance. And because I'm Mexican, it reminds me of Mexican soap operas. And I don't know why. I have this kind of weird, like, morbid curiosity about where this is going. And I want to continue reading it. And I'm also really invested in Kazuya's relationship with Chizuru because, yes, it's fake, but there seems to be more to it from Chizuru's perspective. And obviously from Kazuya, he's kind of like starting to like her. And there's this very interesting kind of dynamic between them. And because I also want to see Mami get horrible payback because she's such a horrible person. I really hate her. She has a very cute design. She's very adorable, but like, as an individual, ooh, I hate her so much. And I can't wait to see what happens later on. So yeah, that's Rent a Girlfriend. Then I read Dungeon Buster, which is the only thing I read digitally in terms of light novels. And Dungeon Busters is a very interesting kind of solo leveling-esque type of series. It basically is like portals open up on in Tokyo and around the world, and they lead to dungeons, and then humans have to destroy these dungeons. The first person to find it is our main character in Dungeon Busters, and then he has to go on this kind of like training spree, and then he develops this kind of company to deal with these dungeons, and it's this kind of interesting kind of solo leveling-esque grinding with this kind of like development of this kind of business side of things that I think is very interesting. It's a very cool combination. There's also this beautiful artwork that kind of demonstrates the fan service aspect of the series quite well, although it's a little bit incongruent because the fan service in the artwork is amazing. It's crazy. It's super good, but the story itself isn't very focused on the fan service. It's very minimal. Like it very rarely, if ever, actually mentions it, and it only mentions it in a very kind of like fade to black kind of way. So it's kind of odd that you get these kind of beautiful pieces of artwork that have so much fan service, but then you're reading and it's like very minimal. So it's kind of interesting, but it's also kind of like not the best in my opinion. Like there's the incongruency kind of makes it jarring to read a bit, but overall the story is good and I really do enjoy it. But yeah, and then I read Nagatoro, or Don't Bully Me, Miss Nagatoro. I don't know. Recently I saw that Ivrea, which is a Spaniard manga publisher, recently licensed it, and the way they named it was Don't Fuck With Me, Miss Nagatoro, and I thought that was really funny. So I thought it was cool, but yeah, I think in English it's called Don't Tease Me, Miss Nagatoro. Don't Mess With Me, Miss Nagatoro. I'm not exactly sure, but I read volume 1. I bought it in the Kodansha sale, and I thought it was really good. I really did enjoy it. She's horrible as an individual, but the way she's drawn and the way we kind of see her interact with Senpai is very interesting. It kind of is attractive and kind of like appealing in this very kind of like, why am I attracted to this kind of way, if that makes sense. She's so kind of like intimidating and evil, but so cute that it's kind of interesting and you kind of want to see where it goes. It's very odd. I'm not really sure how to describe it. It's like, I guess it's just a morbid type of curiosity, I guess, that I mentioned for something else earlier, for Rent a Girlfriend. But I don't know. I think the art style really makes the series, because if I didn't really like the art, I don't think that I would really like the plot line of it, because it is very kind of like shitty. Like Miss Nagatoro like goes hard and really just like ruins Senpai's life like a lot, and it's really messed up. But because of the art, it's so attractive that it's like I'm okay with this, even though if it was any other type of character, I would really hate it. So it's kind of odd, but I like it. It's very interesting. Then that's all I finished reading this month. I actually have stuff that I haven't finished reading, but that I started, which would be Core, which is the one novel that I decided to read this month, but I'm only about 70 pages in. No, 62 pages in, and it's about 400 pages. This is written by Bernard Cornwell, the guy that did The Lost Kingdom, which is one of my favorite TV shows. I read the first book a long time ago, over 2 years ago, I think. I have a review on the channel for it if you want. But it's basically about the war of Agincourt. I think it's one of the fights in the War of the Roses or something like that. And it's kind of immortalized in Shakespeare's Henry V. I'm not too sure about it. It's kind of interesting, but I like the series. I like the book. It's well written. It's very nice. And it has this kind of very interesting kind of way of describing war, and kind of the way this character, Hook, I think is his name, feels about what's going on around him. And I think it's very good. Then I started reading this light novel that was sent to me called Kunoichi, which is like, it's like Kunoichi, like the female ninjas in Naruto, but it's spelled a different way. There's like a space somewhere that's supposed to be 2 words. And I think it's cool. I started reading it. It has a very nice, style to it. Very similar to this kind of historical fantasy that I like. But I'm not too sure about it just yet. I've only read about 30 pages. But hopefully I get to finish it before I start school up in August. But I'm not really sure. So hopefully I get to finish that. And the last thing I started reading was Batman, The Court of Owls. This is volume 1 in the New 52. I started reading this because this is a lot easier to read than the novels that I have. And because I was kind of feeling tired and kind of brain dead. And it's easier to just look at the pictures and not even bother reading, since I've read this before, than it is to really just like sit down and read a proper book. So that's why I started this, but I haven't really read much of it. But yeah, I think that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Of course, please let me know what you guys have read this month, and if there's been anything particularly interesting, or if you have read any of the books that I showed you. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I really do appreciate it if you guys watched till the end. So yeah, thank you guys very much, and see you guys later.